Good evening and welcome again to On the Go Radio. I'm your host, Vanetta Clark of the show Living to Win. I want to thank you all for tuning in over the airwaves. This is an awesome opportunity for us to talk to people about things that matter. And we just want to be a voice, powering the voice of community and change. That's what this is about. So I've got a lot on my mind. It's been about a week. It's good to be back. But today I'm thinking about care, in particular self-care, but also the American Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Caring for others, caring for the future, caring for the elderly, caring for babies. We have got to figure out how to care. I feel like in the age of Donald Trump, we have lost some of our way. But even before that, caring about other people and other things other than ourselves kind of got off the rails. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about caring. Care is a verb. It's also a noun, but I want to talk about care as a verb. What are the things that we do for people? How do we look out for ourselves? How do we look out for others? We have a lot of mothers out there. I'm a mother, but I'm also a daughter. And so it is of the utmost importance that I care for myself. If I don't care for myself, how can I care for my child? How can I care for my mother? We're in an age right now where people are living longer, but not necessarily better. Obesity is still very prevalent and on the rise. There are lots of sicknesses and diseases that we're able to live with a lot longer because we just pop more pills or, we go to the doctor. We do those things to kind of keep ourselves going, but it's not a quality life. And so that's where the self-care comes in. What are we eating to demonstrate that we care for ourselves? What are we putting into our bodies that demonstrate self-care? Are we exercising in a way that promotes self-care? It's not about being a size 4. I don't want that to be the message, but being clear about healthiness, mindfulness. What are we doing to care for our minds, to rejuvenate our minds so that we are sound and not irresponsible in our speech, in our communication, in the ways that we interact with people? So when I think about self-care, I think about, yes, the foods that we eat. Or am I having a good breakfast? And I'm guilty of this because I never eat breakfast. I usually start my day at 6. I wake up around 5:30, starting my day at 6:30. And I might not eat until noon. That's a horrible habit. And it is reflective of not caring for myself. So then I have a lunch, and I power through the day. And many days I don't eat dinner because I've eaten a huge kind of late lunch. And that's not a good thing. So remembering to have breakfast in the morning, even if it's a piece of fruit, a glass of water and a piece of fruit, a bagel, something to fuel your body so that you don't run ragged. So that's the one part, the nutritional aspect of it, making sure that what we eat is beneficial to maintaining our bodies and keeping them strong. And then there's our physical selves. We have to get moving, stairs, walking, jogging, stair climbing. I mean, there's so many fitness crazes out here. Yoga, Zumba, weight training. There are so many things that we can do to take care of our bodies and to keep them strong. And many times we don't. We don't take the time to do those things. Oh, I'm too busy. You don't have to go out and buy the most expensive gym membership. It really begins in your heart and in your mind when you intentionally set out to do something that makes you feel better physically about yourself. I know that when I exercise, I feel better. I probably look better too. Same thing with breakfast. Like not functioning on, all cylinders happens when we don't fuel our bodies appropriately. And that's with food and with exercise. The next aspect of self-care, which might be even more important in some respects than the physical or the nutritional aspects of self-care, is taking care of our minds, taking care of our mental well-being. There is so much negativity in the world right now. You have to be able to encourage yourself. You have to be able to stay positive and stay focused so that you can meet those expectations that we discussed last week. And understanding that if you are not in your right mind, it makes it quite difficult to do the other parts, to make sure that you're eating, 3 good meals a day or 5 small good meals a day, that you're exercising on the regular, that you're reading something that is positive and stimulating, that you are not just listening to mindless radio or watching mindless television all day long without ever coming back to the place where you get in your right mind. We're in a place where we believe anything goes, everything goes. Oh, let people do what they want to do. And I get that. We are a nation of free speech. We are a nation of freedom to assemble. We are a nation of freedom of the press. But we are also a nation of the most depressed people on the planet. We have the most privilege. We have probably the most disposable income. We have so much opportunity, and yet we are the most depressed community of people globally. And that's because we aren't caring for ourselves mentally and emotionally and spiritually. So let's begin to think about caring for ourselves. Get up in the morning and affirm, your greatness. Get up in the morning and affirm your life. There are people who aren't happy about waking up in the morning. Every day when my eyes pop open, I'm excited about what the new day will bring. Even though I don't eat breakfast, I'm still excited that there's going to be a great day ahead of me. And without that level of expectation, without that level of mindfulness that I have the ability to create change in the world for other people through my positive mental attitude, you can really get off track. You go to work in the morning, there are people you say good morning, or they don't say anything, or they, that is a sign of neglect. When someone speaks to you, the appropriate thing to do is to speak back. I'm not saying I want to come home with you and have dinner. I'm saying good morning. Good morning. But when we don't take the time to mentally prepare ourselves for whatever is coming, it makes it difficult for us to face even a most basic pleasantry such as good morning. So we have to recalibrate our minds to know that we are a social people. We need one another, and we need to care for one another. And self-care is the beginning of that. If I'm caring for myself and I'm loving on myself and I'm meeting my basic needs, then I'm prepared to go out and interact with others, and in a way that is caring, in a way that is respectful, in a way that is uplifting and empowering. But if I don't take care of myself, then I neglect everything else because I'm not in a proper mind frame. I'm not in a proper state. I have a friend who used to say you cannot serve from an empty cup, which means that you have to take care of yourself. There are people, and I have been guilty of this many times. I'm constantly on the go, doing things for others, constantly on the go, because I believe that I am a servant leader, and I definitely look for opportunities to help others. But if I don't take care of me, then I'm not very good at helping other people take care of themselves. So self-care is critical. Before we care and take care of someone else, we have to care for others. And this is particularly true of people with young children, and people who are caring for their parents, the elderly, grandparents maybe. If you have a child or a relative who has some kind of disease or impairment that requires them to have additional needs outside of them being able to care for themselves, and you are a primary caregiver, you need an opportunity for self-care. And I would encourage you to reach out to your support systems, ask for help. And it's not easy to do. And I wish that people would offer help. That's the other thing, is that if you know somebody who is caring for an elderly relative, who is caring for, a child who, has special needs, or even if you just know somebody who may have 2 or 3 children, to offer to babysit so that they can have some time to rejuvenate and restore, and employ some self-care for themselves. So we want to care for ourselves first, and then we want to extend that care to others. The American Care Act, I'm going to switch gears. I think that I have kind of talked about self-care enough that people get it. It's critical. It's vital. It has to happen. Shifting gears to the American Care Act, also known as Obamacare. The GOP, the Republican side of government, appears to not want people to have health care insurance. So how can you care for yourself if you can't get to the doctor, or if going to the doctor is so cost prohibitive that you have to choose between, do I go get help for my physical ailment or my mental ailment or my addiction or whatever my illness might be? Or do I eat? Do I pay my car note? Do I pay my insurance? My car and home insurance, that is, which are also exorbitant in the city of Detroit. Redlining is out of control. I'm going to get off of that right now, though, because I'll go hard. But how is it that people are supposed to take care of themselves if they cannot get to the doctor at a reasonable cost? Premiums are sky high. Co-pays are sky high. Office visits are sky high. And it seems as though the GOP, the Republican government, is working overtime. They won't go on vacation. They're going to fight to repeal the American Care Act, which says something about who these people are and what they really think or feel about the American people. The name of the Healthcare Act in and of itself says that we need to care for ourselves and we need to care for the American people. But it's evident that that is not what the GOP thinks should happen. Children being on their parents' insurance until the age of 26, as long as they're in college and getting on their feet, is incredible. Healthcare for all American citizens is paramount. That's a basic right. We are supposedly, allegedly, a civilized nation, an industrial nation, a technologically advanced nation, and yet people can't go to the doctor. And people are fighting against the right, even more so, vehemently, hard in the paint. We don't want people to be able to go to the doctor, particularly poor people. So we're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid. Poor people and old people and children, the most vulnerable citizens on the planet, you would seek to take away the affordable American Care Act for them. You would seek to destroy that so that you can put more money into war. So that you can give more money to Wall Street. We have to stand up for ourselves. And that is another evidence of self-care. That we don't just allow our legislators to do what they want to do. Because I don't know if a lot of people know this widely, but legislators, those in the House, those in the Senate, those who work in Congress, they have free and unlimited health care for life. They don't have to pay these exorbitant rates. They go see whatever doctor they want. And who pays for it? The American public through our taxpayer dollars. And yet, you will deny health care to the basic citizen, to the everyday man? It's unconscionable. And we need to stand up against that. I'm glad that, we have so far been able to bend the ear of our legislators so that they will not repeal or enact this skinny version of the Affordable Care Act. The other part is that the GOP, the Republican Party, has had 8 years plus to rewrite the legislation. That means something wrong with them. You can't figure it out. All you want to do is take. They have not sat down and come with an intelligent proposal in 8 years. So where is the Republican think tank that collaborates and works together to ensure that the people have basic health care? That should be a constitutional right. How is it that I have access to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness when I can't go to the doctor? Or it's going to cost me so much money that I can't eat for the next 2 weeks until I get paid again, or the next month until I rebound. I gotta get a shut-off notice because I gotta rob Peter to pay Paul just so that I can go to the doctor and make sure that my health is in check? That to me sounds like genocide on poor people. It sounds like you don't want people to be able to care for themselves or for their loved ones unless they are wealthy. Upper middle class. If you are working poor, you aren't going to the doctor because you can't afford it. And that's not right. The most vulnerable people get the short end of the stick in this particular instance. And we have to stand up. We have to care for ourselves. We have to care for our fellow man. So thank you for voting down the repeal of Obamacare. And I encourage the GOP, if you want to repeal it so bad, sit down and write something that makes sense to you. Because it's evident that the Affordable Care Act makes sense to your colleagues. This is also representation of caring for our future. Kids are so callous. Millennials, young people, detached. There's a sense of apathy that is unparalleled. I'm speaking particularly about some recent events where young people have acted quite irresponsibly and have demonstrated not only a lack of care, but outright neglect and malicious ignorance. So there was a gentleman who drowned in a lake, and people watched him drown in a lake. Nobody called the police. Nobody called fire. Nobody yelled out help. You allow another human being to lose his life, and then you laughed. I don't really have any words for that. I'm shocked. I'm incredibly shocked. But I'm learning, There isn't a lot that surprises me. There isn't a lot that shocks me. But the levels of inhumanity that we are beginning to display as a people is disturbing. And that's the primary reason I wanted to talk about caring today. Caring is a verb. It is the act of advocating for someone else. It is the act of ensuring that the needs are met for a person or a thing. There are people who don't care about their cars. They look horrible, smashed up, dirty. There are people who don't care about their homes. The grass is uncut. You don't do any repairs. You just go live in it and stuff falls off and falls apart and you just let it. But when we begin to not care for human life, that is an epidemic, particularly in this nation, that we have to start a movement against. It's unconscionable that you will watch a man drown and not call for help. It's unconscionable that you would drive drunk, kill your sister, and broadcast it on the internet. It's unconscionable that you would leave the most vulnerable people, the elderly, the poor, and children without health care. So when we talk about care tonight, we're talking about self-care, which begins with ourselves, and then extending that care to others, because that's the only way that we get America back on the right track. We have to begin to care for ourselves. We have to begin to care for others. We have to demonstrate that humanity is about more than dollars and cents. I don't know if you all remember the Care Bears. I was watching a special with Dave Chappelle. He talked about the Care Bears. I'm an 80s baby. And the Care Bears would band together and they would fix stuff when it went wrong. They would create opportunities for people who were struggling and people who were hurting to receive the care that they needed to be made whole. And I'm not saying that we need to be Care Bears, but we need to be caring human beings. We need to watch out for our neighbors. We need to watch out for our children. We need to watch out for our parents. We need to watch out. We need to demonstrate care. You've been watching Living to Win. And I posit to you all that when we start to care more, our lives will reflect it. And we will be truly a demonstration of winners. Thank you for your time. This is Vanetta Clark on the Go Radio, powering the voice of community and change, asking you to take the time to care.